Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's Thursday morning, it's 7:30, and yes, it's me doing Solid Ground, which is probably confusing a number of people. But good news, we're not changing, we're doubling. We're doubling the number of Solid Grounds. In fact, between Bob and I, we are going to be covering every morning at 7:30. In other words, Family First is going to be bringing you breaking news, political, cultural, ethical insights all through the week. Which I think is rather exciting. So as you know, Solid Ground traditionally goes out on a Tuesday, and it will continue to, although at a new time of 7:30 a.m. But I'm also doing, as you can see at the moment, Thursday morning, which is quite exciting. Bob is going to be following up with something called Daybreak. Some of you will be familiar with this already. So he's doing Daybreak on the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we've got it covered, and we've got you covered. Obviously, the live chat continues. I'm going to get to you guys in a second. I see them all the comments coming through and the good mornings. That's going to continue. Obviously, you can hit me up with any thoughts, questions, challenges, or otherwise. So again, great to see you all this morning as you're coming on. For those who are new, Solid Ground is where I sit down looking over the week, and basically touching on, well, actually not even just the week, in recent days, what are some of the news stories, what are some of the things happening both here and around the world that we can talk about. And I sort of bring a solid ground of philosophy and ethics, and I suppose a little bit of political experience and life, and just discuss that with you. And I say with you because if you're on the Family First Facebook page or their YouTube channel, you can comment, and it comes live to me here in the studio. And more than happy, of course, to say hello, but also if you've got any questions or challenges about what's being discussed, or perhaps different perspectives, let us know. Again, that's through the Family First Facebook page or the Family First YouTube channel. And that's really important because this streams across a myriad of platforms. I know a number of you are on my Facebook page, and welcome. Great to have you there too. Your comments I'll get to afterwards, but if you want them coming in live, jump, as I say, onto the Facebook page or the YouTube, because this begins to happen, and I love it. So good morning to Catherine, lovely to have you on board. Ian, I think it is awesome. Fortunately, I'm a morning person, so changing from 8 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. is not too much of a problem. If people have been following, they might have noticed Daybreak was around about 7 in the morning, and Solid Ground was around 8. So we've come to a happy medium. To Rabbit Hole there, good morning yes, lovely to have you. And of course, to everyone, as I said, there's a little bit of a community building. We've got Jackie here, good morning, lovely to have you along from Ratihi, beautiful place. Yes, we've given Mandy a bit of a surprise, I knew we would. So it was only a last minute decision. Bob and I were talking and went, you know what, we can do this actually, and also it means we can cover each other. So if Bob's away, or I'm away, one of us will step in. The lovely Rosie's a regular there in Taupo. I drove through Taupo last week. Just gorgeous. Is it Replete? There's a lovely cafe there. I think it's called Replete. I should know, Rachel and I always stop there, Rosie, but we always get it mixed up in names, but a lovely, lovely place. Ian's asking, right, what's going to be the difference? It's probably, Bob will be able to answer this too. I'm much more chatty and conversational. We'll be taking much more questions from you guys as you're doing now, and tend to fly by the seat of my pants or off the cuff. I don't most of the time know what I'm going to talk about. I think Bob will be much more structured in what he is doing. So if you follow Bob's work versus mine, his is much more ordered and considered. Mine is, as I say, fly by the seat of the pants. But the themes will be very, very similar, obviously within the Family First vein, but also I suppose it's really just our different personalities which are coming through. Jacob's asking, no, I haven't seen all of it. So Sean Plunkett's been in Israel of late, and he may have even gone into parts of Gaza, I think. But I've only seen parts of it, Jacob. I need to watch the whole thing. It's been a good but busy week. So there you go. So guys, we got here. Dean is giving us a bit of inspiration for the morning. There's a lot of work. I think Bob and I will probably talk to this actually tomorrow night. Because what are we? No, it's tonight. Today's Thursday. We're doing political playback tonight. So you've got a whole morning or mornings of Bob and me. And then on a Thursday we do political playback. And actually, Dean, one of the topics, if you will, we'll be talking about in that space of how do we make New Zealand better is ultimately... I don't know if you guys have been following the absurdities coming out of one of the Green MPs. I mean, absurdities come from all of them, but one of them, Tamitha Paul, now wants to not only get rid of the police, she believes police being seen on the streets is offensive and scary to people, and we have to get rid of them. I kid you not, but we'll talk about it a bit more later. And thanks to Rabbit Hole, we do have different styles. I think in some ways it could be crossover in themes, but Bob and I, while we are on the same page, we operate slightly differently. The other thing that's probably going to happen is Solid Ground might be just slightly shorter by about 5 minutes. In the past, just so you know, I would sort of plan for 30 minutes, but the time I'd crammed everything in could easily be 45 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep this to about 30, sometimes 20, because obviously now I can split what's in my mind across two mornings. To Jackie, so political playback is at 5 o'clock, so 5 p.m. Tonight. So that's when Bob and I are both on and much more systematically go through political issues of the day. In fact, Bob and I are just finalising those at the moment. Not literally at the moment. That would be double tasking and something I can't do. Jacob's asking, will I go back to Parliament? No. I mean, I loved my time there. I loved being in Parliament, but I'm loving being out. And a small hint of it, Jacob, and to everyone is I'm actually able to speak now much more freely and candidly than I could in Parliament. And to be honest with you guys, if I was there currently with a lot of the shenanigans happening, and the lack of sort of a robust vision and framework, I'd be exceptionally frustrated. So I'm actually very pleased to be out, and I see new chapters in my life. I've done my time. So it sounds like a prison sentence. But no, I did 12 years there. For me, got to do actually some amazing things, more than actually what a lot of MPs will do. I mean, who gets to travel to Afghanistan and Iraq and Antarctica? Who gets to meet some of our amazing people around the world, and obviously all that work exposing foreign interference in New Zealand. So I'm quite proud, including not compromising on my values and standing up for what's right, proper and true. And as I say, not many MPs can say that. Mandy, I'm with you. I do have to watch a little bit of Oops, I've clicked the wrong button. Where are we? Hold on, sorry. What have I done, Mandy? Whoop. Oh no. I'll try that again. There we go. Give me a moment. I think I know what I've done. Give me a moment, guys. I've pressed a wrong button somewhere. Somehow, somewhere, Simon has touched something he shouldn't have. And he's knocked out the comments, which I can still see. Give me a moment. What have I clicked and how? No. We don't want that. Give me a second, guys. How's this? Is this going to do it? No. Okay, I will have to work this out, but I will just read comments. Amanda was saying she doesn't even watch mainstream media anymore. I'm with you. I can't be bothered with it either. I do have to watch. Aha! I've fixed it just like that. Sorry guys, typical me, always stuffing things up. Yeah, I do watch a bit of it, obviously, to garner what is happening and not happening in the world. Catherine's a bit the same. Yeah. And thank you again to Jacob. I'm having quite a morning of chatting with people. In fact, I probably will introduce that a little bit more in Solid Ground. Obviously, I'll touch on different topics, but just engaging. And thanks to Ian. Yeah, look, one of the things I don't think journalists really understood in Parliament. Had they asked me a straight or honest question, I'd have given them an honest answer. It says quite a lot that I didn't have to answer a lot. Crazy. To Ben, good morning. Lovely to have you on board. And to Trish, again, lovely to have all you guys here. If people are wondering how these comments are or are not appearing, if you are, again, you can watch this on everything from X, I think, TikTok, various Facebook pages like Bob's and mine. But if you're on the Family First Facebook page or the Family First YouTube channel, these come directly to me. I just need to put this up. It's probably, I love my sense of humour enjoys the name. I won't say it here because others will find it a bit off on the edge, but yeah, I like the I like the sentiment. Friends don't let friends watch mainstream media. That is true. Hey, something you won't see in much media here in New Zealand. It is actually a good news story. And granted, it's from overseas. I'm going to bookend today with some overseas stuff, but then a lot of New Zealand in between. You may know of a philosophy professor. Her name is Kathleen Stock. Long and short, she's a woman, a lesbian, and gender critical. She believes in the reality of biological sex, and like me, she worries that, and not just me, a lot of us who worry actually, that a lot of this sort of trans ideology is in particularly for her community, is going to see the erasure of people who are gay and lesbian. So the basic premise, guys, being that, no longer is this a sexuality issue, you're really just a girl in a boy's body and vice versa. So long and short, she's been what they call gender critical. She was harassed, harangued, protested at, and basically forced out of her university. Again, this is a professor. And long and short, there's like an oversight body in the UK has said her university was completely out of line because amongst other things, the university did not support her. But importantly, in the free speech realm, the regulator said the university was forcing professors like Kathleen Stock to teach in a certain way. You could only affirm the trans concepts. You could only affirm gender critical theories. And she's saying as a professor, well, no, there's a variety of views. And you would think that actually, there'd be a variety of views in university. Here in New Zealand, there barely isn't either. Get up and try to put an alternative view around sex and gender, biology in a New Zealand university. Try and talk about the treaty. And we know this, by the way, because when surveys are done, the university academics themselves say that topics like that, they just can't go there. Try to put forward a Christian defence, you won't last 5 seconds. So, yeah, very good. Mike, it's pretty simple what mainstream media it is. It's those media that have been around and are usually occupying most of the space. So you can think of the traditional groups like State Broadcasting, TVNZ, RNZ, of course, one of our wokest groups. But these are what have been the traditional companies. So you can define that by both long-term, so they've been around a while. Now that means, of course, over time, if groups like RCR and obviously Family First platform and others become much longer, then that's going to make them more mainstream. Although I'd make the argument they're replacing the mainstream. But no, I think it's relatively easy to define. As I say, it's media that's not only been around a long time, but follows the traditional formats as well. So you can imagine the likes of the New Zealand Herald, based on a subscription and advertising model, the same as Stuff. Obviously, the likes of the Platform are trying to seek the same way. They're not there yet. So yeah, anyway, I think it's relatively easy to define. Chris, yes, there we go, twice. You're getting me twice in a week. And then Bob for 3. Yeah. So there's that. That's one bit of good news. The other was this. Paddy Gowan, you go, what's good news? But dear old Paddy, basically, why is this good news? Is because Family First has been advocating for this for a very, very long time. I mean, just last year, the Forum on the Family had Dr. Jonathan Haidt on talking about the danger of smartphones with kids under 16. Bob, myself, and my wife Rachel were in ARC just a few weeks back, and Sophie Winkleman, was talking about this. And this is something which for years, stress years, that Family First has talked about the inherent dangers of kids and smartphones. And so it's great to see, to use that phrase, Mike, the mainstream media are finally catching up. So good on you, Paddy. It's good that you're just a few years late, but we're pleased you've finally joined us and agreeing with what Family First is saying and doing. Hey, a reminder about this story. Look it up. That sounds like a really strong instruction, doesn't it? I see. I'm just seeing some of the comments. This is my problem, as some of the regulars know. I'm trying to engage, which is good, and I'm also really keen to see your comments. This is just a heads up that I've actually sat down with this academic and done an interview with her, and I will be bringing that to your attention in the coming days. I did that one actually on RCR, so as you might know, I also do a regular radio show, not mainstream media. I do a regular RCR. So I interviewed her just yesterday, actually. So she is a law professor from Waikato University who says the call to tax churches is wrong. And basically, as an atheist, and that's one of her big things, she says, as an atheist, I started these studies to try and prove that the churches needed to be taxed more. She's come to the completely opposite conclusion. So just to remind you of that story, I think you can find, if you do a bit of a search, Waikato Law Professor Charity, it'll pop up, which is good. And as I say, I've got a long interview with her coming out probably late this week or early next week, but I'll let you know. In more contemporary news, we have a petition, because that's what we all do, and they're not bad things, of course. Family First is still waiting to hear back from the government about its petition around what is a woman. I'm concerned that my former colleagues still don't know, a bit like Chris Hipkins, what a woman is. But we see lots of petitions, and one's just been started around school lunches. Now, by the way, people are welcome to do petitions on all and everything. But what struck me, and I hope you can read this, it is a little bit small, and I must admit I'm going to struggle to read it here, but this is the lady who has started the petition, and I want to stress it's good that she has. She's welcome to do so. It's important. It is an important part of our democracy. But read what she has to say. She's placing it, and she's welcome to do so, within a Te Ao Māori lens, particularly around Manaaki, as she said, for her manahuri. So that's the first thing. So Manaaki means to care or support, and Manuhiri means visitor. And she's right. I mean, it's important to show hospitality to one's visitors. Probably the first bit of breaking news for her is that's part of every culture. It's not singularly unique. Secondly, one's children are not manuhiri. They are your own. Children are not visitors. But I just thought, and why I'm drawing this out, is I just thought it was quite funny as you read what she's written here about care, Manaaki as she would put it, and yet she expects others to provide the care to one's children. Just let that sink in for a moment. So as I say, people are very welcome to do petitions, but I found the reasoning spurious. Again, trying to put it within, in this case, a Te Ao Māori framework. In many ways, I'd suggest, guys, to try and put it on or beyond critique. We don't really bother with that stuff here. It's really is to be critiqued because, as I say, all of what she's said here is actually the responsibility of the parents, first and foremost. I just find it very striking that she says it's all about caring, but not for me, the parent, to care. It's for the state to care. That's got things around the wrong way. So that's all I wanted to draw people's attention to on that one. So yeah, it's just crazy. And someone else has said here, Good Watch Adolescence. That's the program I was referencing, or sorry, Patrick Gower was referencing. I think it is on Netflix. I haven't actually watched it. I was, again, just struck how, in this case, mainstream media is a good few years behind what Family First is advocating. And last couple of things to draw to your attention. Again, we talked a bit about media today. I was just struck by this. There's something a bit suspicious happening without sounding like a conspiracist. But if you know this guy, Jim Grennan, he's lived in New Zealand a long time, is looking to change the board that governs NZMEs. I think the likes of News Talk, think the likes of the New Zealand Herald, and there's a huge hoopla. Every day there's focus on this, as if something wrong is happening. And I wrote a Substack on this last week. What he's doing, whether you agree with it or not, is perfectly above board, all puns intended, perfectly above board, quite normal. Shareholder, which he is, and other shareholders are saying we want to clear the board out. We're actually sick of your financial performance, and we don't like the way you're managing the paper. But as you might imagine, a lot of commentators are having kittens around this. And what came out a couple of days ago is that he tried to buy Stuff back in 2020. So it's clear, a couple of things here. One is, it's clear that this gentleman, Jim Grennan, is keen to get into media. But the second thing that's striking is it really, all the focus, sorry, I'm just trying to articulate here, all the focus is on Jim Grennan and NZME, but no focus is actually on Stuff, and particularly who finances it. So Stuff Media, as you know, is a big voice, quite, woke if I had to be quick on a number of issues, because of course they won't discuss a lot of the issues we're discussing this morning. They will have no comment on freedom of speech around the likes of Kathleen Stock. They won't take people's views on climate change. They won't take people's view on the Treaty of Waitangi. So Stuff is quite biased. And the big story has always been put out that the owner paid $1 to an Australian company to buy Stuff. So this is why this story, guys, becomes interesting, because this gentleman, Jim Grennan, will surely have offered far more than $1 for the company. And instead, this Australian company, company designed to make profit, gave Stuff over to the now owner, Sinead Boucher, for $1. Where's the media asking questions about that, particularly now in light of knowing that there were other bidders offering, I suspect, a lot more? Better be clear, that's speculation. It's possible that Jim put an offer in for 50 cents. I can't understand how, but what it does, guys, is you can't run a company on $1. And so the question that's been around for quite some time is, who really is backing Stuff? Where is the money coming from to make this run? And so I suppose it's a very long way of saying that we want good, rigorous probity or focus on media. I don't actually have a problem with lots of questions being put to, in this case, Jim Grennan. But why are the same questions not being put to the likes of the Stuff owners or owner who paid $1, which again intimates when it was sold, there was a whole lot of other financial arrangements in the background. Mike asked, foreign interference in New Zealand. Look, that is literally a rabbit hole. Let's just say it's a proven and known fact that my emails were hacked by the Chinese Communist Party, as was Louisa Walls, an academic. And there's a whole lot more stories. So it is happening in New Zealand. And but that will take me down a literal rabbit hole. Good try for people who try to deny it. Not good. Speaking of denying, I thought this is another factor in media, and it's more around bias than around the Israel-Palestine issue. But oh, excuse me, I'm going to have a swig of coffee. There we go. I think there must have been more pro-Hamas protests, in this case in Cambridge, and from what I've seen, and again, I'm not too worried about the deep particulars, but this chap here looks very angry and started yelling quite aggressively, if not abusively, at the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinians. So first and foremost, I don't think that's appropriate behaviour. But what strikes me is, again, the media bias. I think if you've got to, guys, call it out. Just about every week here in New Zealand, certainly in Australia and around the world, we have these straight, well, what do we call them? Protests. So yeah, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protest. They're loud, they're aggressive. Some have certainly been violent. We are seeing continuing attacks, not so much in New Zealand to be fair, but attacks on synagogues. I mean, gosh, look at what's happening in Canada. Swastikas, look, again, aggressive, violent. But you get very little reporting on that here in New Zealand. We do know of people who stand up in support of Israel, who are on the streets, who are yelled and abused. and we also know that they get arrested. There's the infamous case of Lucy Rogers, who just stood on the side of Queen Street here in Auckland with a sign that wasn't even pro-Israel, it was just making a general statement around violence. The police arrested her. Repeat, they arrested her because they were worried that the pro-Hamas supporters marching down Queen Street, as they do most weeks, would turn violent. So you just got to let that sink in about how our policing is completely messed up. People now are being arrested. It's the same as what actually happened at Albert Park, around Posey Park. She, in effect, was dragged away from the violent baying mob rather than the police intervening. So policing's sort of back to front in many ways on these issues. They seem to be taking a moral position on things. So as I say, while this behaviour by, is it Paul Fisher's his name? I don't think it's appropriate. There is not the same level of coverage by our media around, again, the continuing violent rhetoric. We just had a protest the other day, and again, Chloe Swarbrick and others screaming about basically the elimination of the Jewish people. It's just nutty. In fact, there was a big rally at Parliament. I think I talked about it the other day on Solid Ground for queer rights, or to continue abusing children through transgender surgeries. And there's all these Palestinian flags, which I thought was hilarious because not one of those protesters would last more than 5 seconds in Gaza. So anyway, it's just again an illustration to you guys, and just I suppose I don't need to make you more aware, but there's just this constant stream of effectively propaganda through media. And part of it too, and here we go, just to excite people, to fire them up in the morning, I'm going to finish on something in America. I was just struck by this headline again from Radio New Zealand, or as I prefer to call it, Red Radio. Screaming headline that Trump is no longer funding New Zealand scientists to the US. Why should the US be funding New Zealand scientists? Fund themselves. Don't get me wrong, I think the idea, what the context here is, I think it's 150 years of scientific cooperation between the US and New Zealand, and it's a celebration. So that in itself is good, but I just thought it was quite presumptuous. Why is it that the American government should be funding New Zealanders to go to a trip to the US? If they want to, that's great. But, just as I did, I'm sure you will just step back to go, well, why? And I think, I've got some issues. Do I have some issues? No, I've got some issues with how the Trump administration's dealing with US AID. But you know what? Fundamentally, in behind the decision-making is why is American taxpayers paying billions and billions of dollars to a whole lot of projects they don't believe of any value, and there's a whole lot of absolute waste. I mean, literally, there was an exhibition of men's urinals for women to look at in Afghanistan. That was American taxpayer dollars. So there's a lot of rubbish. And again, a lot of American taxpayers, one of the reasons they voted Trump in was like they don't want all their hard-won taxes being paid. It's nuts. Final thing, because I need to comment on this, I love foreign affairs. This is the whole using something called Signal. It's a secured chat app. So, most of us have our cell phones and text. Well, there's various apps which are more secure. One's called Signal. And in recent days, if you're following the news, there's a bit of uproar about top officials in the Trump administration, so like the defense secretary and others, using a private chat to discuss strikes on Houthis. And it's real. That's the first thing. Some people say it's fake. It's not, and you can say that because now the people who are in the chats are saying no, it was correct. They still don't believe that they did anything wrong, but it's just, I think, fascinating. We've always suspected, you're meant to have, if you will, confidential discussions, usually in person, certainly at a sensitive level. You don't message on any app. So there are definitely questions whether this was prudent or not. There's a lot of debate, and I've read the full text now of any classified information. I suspect there isn't. There's some interesting tidbits, but nothing particularly that's classified. But it's still very striking that, that's a bad pun, but that these people were using, in this case, Signal, to discuss airstrikes on the Houthis. You would have imagined there are other more official apps and or, literally physically getting together. So just raising some substantial questions around security. And of course, the reason we have these is because somehow someone in the chat added a journalist. It boggles the mind for me. So it probably won't surprise you guys, again, with the work I've done in foreign affairs and continue to. I use secure apps. That's normal. But I double and triple check who's on the chats when things are being discussed, which are quite sensitive. So again, it was just a small thing, because I'd seen on some of my on my Facebook, people claiming it's fake and it's no big deal. I don't think it's the end of the world by any means. I don't actually think it's going to have that much impact on the Trump administration. I just thought bad discipline of these guys. And it is possible, actually, that they have breached some American laws, because you're meant to use certain applications which can be archived. All these conversations need to be archived. It's why Hillary Clinton got in trouble years ago for using her own email. It was her way of getting around the law. Same as I think it was Murray McCully here in New Zealand was using his Gmail rather than his ministerial emails. And it appears again, it's to try and bypass the likes of the OIA. So anyway, just fascinating to me at least. Ian notes, the US shouldn't be funding. No, I don't think the expectation should be. It's just why I thought this was just a striking comment. It's sort of this faux outrage. Why should the Americans be funding us? I mean, if we're cooperating on something, scientific endeavours, that makes sense. New Zealand, funds, say, into the Pacific to cooperate, but a lot of it's, look up her name, and this is asking about the person with, I know Lucy well, but I've forgotten what was on her sign. But no, literally, she was arrested. I think the Free Speech Union's in her corner now. It is against free speech. Police, I think, argue that it was to try and maintain order. I would suggest that you arrest the pro-Hamas protesters. The police are there to stop the violence, not the peaceful protesters. And again, the symmetries with Albert Parker are the same. A whole lot of baying, violent lunatics are allowed to continue. And it's that thugs veto which is developing, and unfortunately, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that, not just in New Zealand, but around the world. I don't know if you guys follow a guy called Billboard Chris. He was just arrested in Brisbane the other day for literally standing in an open space with a billboard. So he gets into the whole gender trans stuff. He was arrested because supposedly he was in people's way in a massive square. So again, it's the absurdities like this lawyer yelling at the Palestinian protesters. They yell, they scream, they throw blood, they smash glass, they deface synagogues, they threaten people, and nothing happens. Nothing. But there's a little bit of pushback or resistance from the other side. Oh, big news, big news. So anyway, I could go on for hours. You know me, I've already spoken for 33 minutes. Guys, lovely to have had you with me this morning. As I say, Solid Ground is now on a Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Catherine and Rabbit Hole are saying they like Chris and he's a brave man. Yeah, I'm going to try and get him on my podcast, actually, the Family Matters podcast, but he's clearly a popular fella. But as I say, Solid Ground, that's us for today on a Thursday. I'll be coming to you every Thursday and Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. And as I say, around those other days, you're going to have Bob with Daybreak. As with the earlier questions, what's the difference? It's really just Bob and I have slightly different styles, but it's the good, consistent views that you know of Family First. So look, that's us. Join us every morning now with Family First getting stronger and expand its media reach. Come and join us every morning from 7:30. I'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Bob Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. And of course, tonight at 5 o'clock, you can see Political Playback. You can see Bob and I talking together. But guys, you have a wonderful day. As always, a pleasure. And we'll see you, tonight at 5 o'clock or next Tuesday.